Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So in this video today, we would be discussing about a very interesting topic, which is how PMI audits your PMP applications. Now this whole topic of PMI audit is a sort of a nightmare for many PMP aspirants like you. And there is a lot of incorrect information that floats around in the market and social media, which in the end helps you less and confuses you more when you try to understand the entire process of PMI audits on your PMP application. So in this video today, we will be talking in depth about the entire PMP application audit process by PMI, how they are done, what documents do you need to submit when you are audited, how much time does it take to complete the audit process, what precautions should you take while drafting your PMP exam application to avoid any audit failures, etc. etc. Basically, everything you need to know about PMI audits on your PMP exam application. But before we start, guys, a humble request to you that if you value such videos, please press the like button and subscribe to this channel PMP with Ray. It will indicate to me that you guys like such type of videos and it will motivate me to create more videos like this to help you in your PMP exam journey. So please press the like button and let's get the discussion started. So we'll divide the video into three sections, guys. Okay. First, how your application is selected for an audit and when do you know an audit has been triggered for your application. Okay. Secondly, we'll discuss about the difference between an audit and a query. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the process of an audit and what evidences you need to furnish when your PMP application is selected for an audit. And finally, we'll discuss about how to avoid stress during an audit and how to prevent audit failures. So let's start with section 1, which is how your application is selected for an audit and when do you know that an audit has been triggered for your application. Right. So this is how it works. Okay. Once you have filled up the application form for your PMP exam, let's say completed all your essays, mentioned all the details of your education, 35 PDU course, etc. The moment you hit the submit button on the PMI website, two things can happen. Okay. Scenario 1, you will get a message mentioning that your application is submitted. Now, if scenario 1 is the case for you, be happy because your application is not selected for an audit and has directly gone under review by PMI. Now in scenario 2, what can happen is the moment you hit this submit button, you will get a message on screen showing that your application has been selected for an audit. Now if that's the case, you will get an auto-generated email by PMI and on-screen instructions from PMI mentioning the details of the audit process, okay, which we are going to discuss in this video subsequently. But looking at this flowchart till here, guys, I think you got the answer to the fundamental question that when do you know that your PMP application is selected for an audit, okay? And the answer is as soon as you hit the submit button for your PMP exam application on the PMI portal. Now just an important data point which you need to know about PMI audits. Please note that they are totally random and applications are selected by algorithm and not by human reviewers, okay? So it's immaterial how well or how badly you have written the essays in your application, or let's say how correctly or incorrectly you have filled up the application form, okay? Now generally it has been seen that 1 out of 10 applications submitted for the PMP exam are audited, okay? So it's totally based on your good luck or your bad luck, guys. Okay. I'm afraid this is how it is and you cannot really influence whether your application will be selected for an audit or not. Next, let's talk about the difference between a query and an audit. Okay. Because they are fundamentally two different things and they are often used synonymously and not quite well understood by the PMP aspirants, because as we'll see now that an audit and a query are two very different things. Now for that, let's go back to our flowchart. Now look at scenario 1. When you have submitted your PMP application, guys, and it's under review by PMI, Typically, PMI takes about 5 to 7 business days to review your application, okay? And this time, mind it is done by human reviewers. Now, while doing the review of your essays, educational qualifications, and the 35 PDO course details, if PMI feels that either there is some issue in your education qualification or 35 PDO details, or let's say there is not enough evidence of project management coming out of your essays, PMI will raise what is called a query in your application. Take a look at this screenshot, okay? A typical query from PMI looks like this. Now this does not mean that your application is audited, okay? What it simply means is your essays do not bear enough evidence of project management, and that is why PMI thinks that you may not be eligible for the exam since you do not have a work experience as a project manager. Now such problems happen, guys, when you do not write your essays or project descriptions as per a specific format which PMI wants to see. It also happens a lot when you mention your job title and roles and responsibilities incorrectly in your PMP application. Now to know these details and how to correct them, please watch this video on my YouTube channel where I have discussed in detail about the structure of essays and what kind of job titles you need to use while writing your project descriptions. So going back to the flowchart, once you redraft your essays in the correct format, now I assume here, guys, that none of you have provided incorrect information in your essays, the application is resubmitted to PMI, okay? Now interestingly, two things can happen here. Scenario 1, your application goes again under review by PMI. They relook at your application, and if all is well, they approve it within 5 to 7 business days, and you get a notification to book the exam within the PMI dashboard. Please note that you may or may not get an email communication at every step, okay? So it's better to keep checking your PMI portal from time to time. Now let's say if your application is not approved at this stage, a second scenario can take place here, okay? Now here in this second scenario, something interesting can happen, okay? And that is an audit can be triggered right at this point, okay? And once an audit has been triggered on your revised application, the process will stay the same. You will get a notification on website. You can get a notification on email as well, and a formal audit process will trigger for your PMP application that we'll discuss now. So till this point, guys, I hope you have understood the basic difference between a query and an audit, okay? Now let's move on to the next section of the video where we'll discuss what happens from this point where an audit has been triggered on your PMP application. Before going into the audit process, it is important for us to understand why PMI audits applications in the first place, right? This is because the PMP certification holders are highly regarded in the industry, okay? And that's why PMI wants to ensure that only the right candidates qualify for the exam, and that's why PMI uses the audit process on your application as a filtration mechanism. Now, if you check these sections of the PMI handbook, guys, you'll be able to find a fair bit of details regarding the audit process, okay? However, in this video, let me break this down for you in simple, easy to understand steps. So once an audit is triggered, guys, on your PMP application, you have 90 days to complete the entire process, okay? PMI will notify you via email regarding the entire audit procedure and which documents you need to upload on the portal as evidences for whatever you have declared in your PMP application. Now these can be all of these 3 items or maybe a single item on the screen, as you see, depending on your PMP application and depending on the red flag which PMI has raised on your PMP application. Now in case of signatures from your supervisors or managers for the projects recorded in the experience verification section of the application, you will be required to provide email IDs of your previous line manager or supervisors who can verify the project experience on your behalf. Now this is generally digitally signed over DocuSign once you have provided your manager's work email addresses in the audit submission page. Now please note, guys, that it is completely okay if your manager or supervisor has left the company or is working in an entirely different business at the moment. Okay. What matters is, number one, they are able to vet your project work experience by digitally signing on your essays. And secondly, the email IDs shared with PMI are work email IDs and not personal email IDs like Gmail, Rediff or Yahoo. So it might be a good idea to identify a few potential seniors for your previous jobs and provide them a prior heads up regarding your PMP application, okay, even before you submit your application on the PMI portal. Now this is just to avoid any last minute hurry and awkward conversations during audits. Note that your managers will automatically get a copy of your essays the moment you provide their email IDs in the portal and ask them to sign them digitally via DocuSign. Next, if you are asked by PMI to upload any of these evidences, for example, your diploma certificate, your bachelor's certificate, 35 PDO course certificate, etc., you need to upload the scanned copies of these items on the PMI portal. Now, once your supervisors or managers have approved your work experience and you have uploaded the necessary evidence as asked by PMI, you need to submit the same on the PMI portal, which then goes under a review process. Now, if everything is in order for you, submitting all the audit evidence should not take you more than a week. Okay, so 90 days is more than sufficient time for you to collect all these documents and submit it on the PMI portal for review. Now mind that in some countries, guys, PMI may ask you to post the hard copies of all the documents by post instead of email. Okay, now this is for only a few selected countries, but generally PMI will follow this online procedure where you need not take a printout of anything and the entire process will happen digitally. Now once you have uploaded all the evidences and resubmitted the query of an audit on the PMI portal, PMI should respond back to you within 7 to 10 business days, maybe even quicker, if they find everything in order. Okay, now if that's the case, they straight away approve your application and now you are good to go to book an exam slot. Now moving on, let's discuss how to avoid any stress during your audit process and avoid risk of audit failures. So the underlying principle is very simple, guys. Okay, you don't need to worry if you have nothing to hide. Okay, to make that happen, let's look at some of the key reasons why candidates fail the audit. Okay, the first reason is providing incorrect information, or basically lying about your project management work experience in your essays. Okay, so basically you have never been a project manager or you have never led projects directly, but in the essays you mentioned that you did. Okay, now that's gross misconduct, guys. Okay, and this is against business ethics and also not in line with the PMI code of conduct. So if PMI gets even the slightest evidence that you are deliberately trying to bypass the eligibility criteria, you will definitely fail the audit. Okay, so the tip is very simple, guys. Please do not lie in your application. Okay, check out this blog from my website where I have covered in detail about the eligibility criteria of the PMP exam. I will provide the link to this blog in the description section of this video. Secondly, you can fail the audit if your essays are not signed off by your supervisors, or let's say one of your line managers provides any adverse comment on your essays while responding to the audit notification. So a tip here, please write your essays as per the format explained in the YouTube video which I have mentioned before. I will leave a link in the description section of this video as well. And also it will be very prudent on your end to align your managers or supervisors or sponsors or customers with whatever you are writing in your essays even before you submit your application. And the third reason to fail an audit is not having the right documents for your educational qualifications or 35 PDUs. Okay, so for example, you could have reported 36 months of project management work experience, but you do not have a 4-year degree or equivalent to back that up. Okay, or let's say in another example, if you have taken a 35 PDU course but you have not completed it and you have not collected the course completion certificate from the education provider, you will definitely fail to generate the relevant documents which PMI is asking from you during an audit process. So the tip here is very obvious, guys. Please don't take any shortcuts while assessing your profile with respect to the PMP exam eligibility criteria. Okay, very important. Check the PMI handbook, read my blog, do whatever is needed to be done. Okay, and be doubly sure about your eligibility criteria for the PMP exam. I speak about this again and again in multiple videos on my YouTube channel. So please do not try to submit your application just to try out your luck, okay? Because you know why? PMI can even audit your profile several years even after you have become PMP certified if something flags up as a red flag or if they smell something fishy in your overall profile as a PMP certified project manager. So the underlying principle is very simple, guys. You do not need to worry if you have nothing to hide, okay? And if that happens, you will not only lose your certification, but also you will be blacklisted by PMI for any other certification exams by PMI in the future. Honestly, guys, it's not worth the risk, okay? Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, please press the like button and I'll see you again soon in another video like this on this channel.